Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear me. Welcome back to Speedrun Ragnarok 2023 with our third and final Take This interview. Today, we have with us the amazing Dr. Elizabeth Kilmer.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So, this is the first time you've been with us on Speedrun Ragnarok, is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. It's always great to have someone new from the team, or like not new on the team, but new to us from the team to kind of hang out and tell us more about some of the stuff you do. So, to start off, why don't you, oh yeah, for those who can't see the name, hey, it's me, Natara. I'm here chilling. Everything's great. We love this. Um, so why don't you talk a little bit about what you do with Take This? Maybe your position, what you do, things you're working on.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Kilmer. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and with Take This, I am a qualitative researcher. So, I work with Dr. Rachel Cowart, as well as the rest of the Take This team, but I work primarily with Dr. Rachel Cowart. A lot of the work we're doing right now is focusing on building community resilience in online gaming communities to kind of push back against hate, harassment, and extremism. So, we do interviews with developers. We're working on a whole lot of written resources right now. We've done kind of surveys with gamers in the US and the UK to kind of
Hmm.
understand more about what people are doing to kind of push back against hate and harassment. How do we build safer, more inclusive communities so that we can all continue to like really enjoy and engage in games?
Yeah, and as a speedrunning streaming community based around women and femme-leaning folks, this is definitely a topic we're all incredibly passionate about because we definitely have seen our fair share of the toxicity. Though I have to say, shout outs to our community for being incredibly amazing. We do have a team of mods specifically say like for this event, and I think most of them are pretty bored most of the time, which frankly, we
That's what
want
you
that.
want. You
Yeah.
want board mods for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. There's definitely events I've been part of where it's like, no, I refuse to mod for this event. I just don't have the mental fortitude. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of the work that we're doing is figuring out how can we um, shift norms or create designs and games and communities that can help support people in like making good choices about communication so
yeah.
that mods have less work to do. Like board mods 2024, I feel like should be my slogan.
Oh my
I
God,
need it
love
on a
that.
t-shirt. um, Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of my background in work is in using
Ah,
games in therapeutic contexts. So,
okay.
like tabletop role playing games, like
Love
Dungeons
them.
and Dragons, or popular
Hmm.
games like Minecraft, to help build insight and growth, to help individuals engage in therapy processes a little bit
Okay.
more. And so, that's something that I think has really translated really well to some of the work that we're doing around community resilience because of this focus on using games to help people connect, using games to help people grow.
Absolutely. And like you named two things which I love incredibly amounts, like tabletop role playing
Mhm.
and Minecraft, both things I play on the fairly regular. What are some examples of how you would use those games and those systems to therapeutically?
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about tabletop role-playing games, I actually was an author in a book we had come out this year, which is very exciting, about
Ah.
how therapists can use tabletop role-playing games. We talk about therapeutically applied role-playing games
Hmm.
in sessions. So these are typically going to be group experiences, and you're going to have gameplay is going to be a huge part of that. So for a traditional like psychotherapy group, that's going to be
Yeah.
about 2 hours long. We're going to have 90 minutes of gameplay and 30 minutes of this kind of processing time where we get to talk through what happened, what we noticed, what went well, what didn't go well, how this kind of ties into our life, our experiences outside of the game. And in the
Okay.
game itself, the therapist is going to serve as your DM or your GM. So they are going to
Hmm.
have control over the environment and the NPCs.
Nice.
All the participants are going to obviously play a character.
Hmm.
And as the therapist, I'm going to have control over the environment and the narrative so I can create opportunities for people to get to work on skills that are important to them. So this could be things like perspective taking or self advocacy or
Okay.
being able to speak publicly or advocate for others. And so, even though your players may not be fighting hordes of goblins in real
Yeah.
life, getting to understand like how to speak up and communicate, being able to
Yeah.
kind of understand what's happening, we find it's also really helpful for building interpersonal connections and building skills and confidence around that. So, when
Absolutely.
we are working on building connections with other people, especially if we have a history of getting really unhelpful or even kind of abusive feedback from other people, getting
Mhm.
feedback from someone, being told that someone doesn't like what we've done or maybe we could do something different might feel really, really dangerous. And so when we're in a space in which we're playing a character, a lot of that feedback or that communication can happen about and through the character, which gives us
Oh,
just a little bit more psychological distance from it. And then
yeah.
we as a group can go, okay, well, this character keeps trying to kick in all of the doors. And that's was
Mhm.
kind of funny, but now it's causing a lot of problems. Like what what does Bob need so that he'll stop kicking down so many doors? And we get to
Yeah.
focus on that character as opposed to that player themselves. And so we're practicing perspective taking, but we're also getting that opportunity to give and receive feedback in a way that might feel a little bit safer. We're able to
Yeah.
practice our own like get to learn and understand a little bit more about our own identity. Um, I am part of the LGBT community. I have a lot of clients who are. I've had several clients who have tried out new pronouns through characters.
I was gonna
You
mention
know,
that, yeah.
absolutely. So said like, hey, my character actually uses they them pronouns. Group is like, cool, excellent, makes the switch. A couple weeks later, player comes in and goes, hey, I use they them pronouns.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to things like gender or even sexuality, things like names, there's often this pressure that if you go, oh, you know what, I think that the gender that people have been assigning to me my whole
Mhm.
life might not be a really good fit. It can
Yeah.
feel really scary to try and
Yep.
test out what exactly is the best fit for me,
Absolutely.
especially with all the kind of misinformation about how when children or adolescents shift like have a shift in perception of their gender that it's a phase.
Mhm.
There's this pressure of like, well, once you come out, like you're done, like you should it should be exactly correct. And the reality is like
Not how
it's
it
gonna take
works.
some time
Yeah.
for people, especially because of like the weird norms we have around gender. And so having the
Yeah.
opportunity to explore pieces of yourself, whether that is related to gender, whether that is related to, I'm somebody who I want to start speaking up more for myself, or
Mhm.
I want to start setting boundaries more. But if I start doing that in the real world, like those are some big consequences. People are going to push
Uh-huh.
back. That's going to be really hard. So getting
Yeah.
to do that in that game space creates so many opportunities for practice and experiential learning
Yeah.
without some of the bigger consequences that happen outside the game.
Absolutely. And yeah, I was definitely going to mention that. Like, I've heard lots of like different trans, queer folks using that role playing space to try out things, pronouns, names, otherwise. And it's, like you say, really safe place to do it. And you can try it
Mhm.
out and be like, no, that doesn't feel right. Okay, cool. I didn't go through this whole process and find it didn't work in real life, and now maybe people won't take me seriously, but it's just like I'm still learning, I'm still trying things
Yeah.
out. So yeah, no, absolutely, definitely really good for that. um is there any particular system you find is good for that? Like, do you find you stick within the D&D space, or do you use some of the other systems that are out
That's a
there?
great question. We actually in the book we have a whole chapter that talks about a bunch of different
Oh,
systems.
awesome.
So D&D is one that really dominates the market, and
It does.
so it can absolutely be something that is a great. I use D&D primarily in part because
Hmm.
it's the system I'm the most familiar with, as well as the system that because it's the most well known.
Hmm.
When you are trying to like tell people about this thing that exists,
Yeah.
it is the thing that's the most notable. That being said,
Yeah.
there's nothing sacred about that particular system. There
Hmm.
are some amazing other systems or adaptations to systems
Hmm.
out there. A lot of this has to do with the fit and the style of the group. So I have had the
Yeah.
opportunity to run groups with ages 8 through 83. I've run groups
Oh,
with
nice.
neurodivergent adolescents working on things like social skills, teens with anxiety and depression, stuff like that.
Hmm.
I've done a lot of work with military veterans, working in settings where the general focus is on kind of trauma or substance use related
Hmm.
populations. And so any setting you're going to have, you're going to be making adaptations in terms of like what your game looks like and how you're moving in.
Yeah.
I will say you can actually maybe see it behind me. Coyote and Crow um, is a system that I'm really excited about. I haven't gotten the opportunity to
Okay.
run a game with it, but
Hmm.
Coyote and Crow is a system that was developed by an all Indigenous team, and
Oh.
I think it's really nice because D&D absolutely they've been working on making some changes, but it's very much rooted in this like white male
Yep.
colonialist world, and
Mm.
Coyote and Crow kind of really pulls back from some of that. So it's this
Oh, great.
alternate future where
Yeah.
colonialism never happened. It does feel kind of post-apocalyptic-y, but not because of the British taking over the entire world. So kind of having those alternate spaces and thinking about what is going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work. I have done a fair amount of work like training other people how to run these systems.
Hmm.
We have people who have loved, for example, running like Tales from the Loop has been something that can be really popular with adolescents. So
Okay.
some of it really comes down to that fit. I get a lot of questions about like, is combat really okay or a good idea in a therapeutic game? And I will emphatically say yes to that. So one of the very
Hmm.
first therapeutic groups I ran was for adolescent girls who'd experienced trauma. And in that setting and in that population, especially when we're working with like younger girls, right, often socialized to be smaller, take up less space, not be
Yep.
too loud, not be too aggressive, and getting to feel really empowered in that game, getting to engage through combat to like, beat up the bandits to get to save their friends. Obviously, it's important that we make sure that things are age appropriate. Session
Hmm.
zero pieces are obviously incredibly important. The way that I'm going to describe combat with 65-year-old vets versus 10-year-old girls, it's not gonna look exactly the same.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
having that opportunity to feel empowered, and then a lot of what we're looking for is flexibility in problem solving. So
Hmm.
if a group's solution every single time is to hit people over the head with a stick to get what they want, that's probably not going to help us. Like we want to look at being able to be kind of flexible in that problem solving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find with a lot of the systems, anyways, it's like the system is merely a kind of set of rules just to kind of keep you within the bounds. It's the journey the DM or the GM takes you on, which really is what takes you on that journey.
Absolutely. I was on a panel with Jeremy Crawford a few years ago, and he talked about that, like, yeah, if the rules aren't working for your table, like, just throw them out. And I was like,
Yeah.
excellent, cool, I'm done. I can push back against anybody who ever tells me that I have to follow the rules as written. It's important that
Oh,
your
yeah.
table is on board with like what are the rules that
Hmm.
you're doing. But there are adaptations that I'm going to make to any system I'm using or any game I'm playing to make sure that it's supporting the goals I have for the group.
Yeah.
So some easy examples for that is we tend to do like milestone level ups as opposed to XP, especially because
Hmm.
in systems like D&D, XP is really tied heavily to combat.
Combat. Yeah.
And I also don't love, even if we were tying it to social pieces, I don't really like the like amount of token economy piece that we start to get in terms of like, oh, you said nice words to somebody. Cool, you get 5 points. A lot of my focus there is more on that experiential learning and
Yeah.
that feedback happening through what is happening in the game, the excitement of what is happening in the game, as opposed to here's your tally of points. Where if
Hmm.
you just say a series of nice words to someone, now you get more points.
Yeah, that honestly makes a lot of sense to me as a fellow tabletop RPG player. We're going to go more into that in a moment, but I'm going to quickly throw to our host, Lady Ariana. Do you want to talk to us about any donations you've gotten recently or any special incentives we might have right now?
Well, I don't see any new donations right now, but I did hear some certain incentives. The Tara, I believe you might have a feline friend that is around.
I'm sure I don't. Yes, Penny, who was here for the first interview, is once again visiting. So for every $5 donation we get while she is still here, I will do an impromptu cat cam. I do disclaim I will let you know when she leaves, if she leaves, because cat life.
I also heard that there may or may not be a puppers around too.
There is. So Badger is currently sleeping in the other room, but she will absolutely be happy to come in here later. And she recently got a dinosaur costume that she is a pretty big fan of.
So the plan for that is for a one-time $50 donation, we'll just show you the puppy. Oh, look, a cute puppy. And we'll do that near the end of the run because puppy's sleeping. We don't want to disrupt Badger more than we need to. But if we can get $100 cumulative during this interview, that costume might come into play. So it's up
You
to you, friends.
you all heard it here. Let's get those donations rolling in to see puppers. And to be honest, I want to see puppers in dino costume.
She's very cute. It has little holes for her ears to poke through.
I
It's
can't. I
adorable.
love dogs so much. They're so happy. So, while I'm definitely still very interested in the tabletop RPG, I and
Absolutely.
my ADHD brain have seen something in your background which has distracted me, which is The Anti-Planner by Danny Donovan. I see
Oh
that
my
on
gosh.
your shelf.
Yeah.
I have one of
Do you
those
want
too.
me to
I
tell? I have a whole
Yes.
pitch about
Oh
it.
my God, yes, please.
I followed Danny's stuff for years.
Oh, she's so good.
I think she's amazing and she's awesome.
Uh-huh.
But
Yep.
I saw, like, I'd kind of seen the Anti Planner. I kind of come across it, and I was like, but I didn't really look into it because I went, I have
Hmm.
planners that work for me. I feel really good about my planners. I'm
Absolutely.
pretty good at organization.
Hmm.
And then I ran into her at Chad was an international ADHD conference last year.
Hmm.
And she was like, oh, I have like copies. Do you want to see it? And I was like, sure, I love seeing things. And I sat down and then I did not get up again for like an hour. And I realized 30 minutes into this that I was just saying all of my thoughts about the planner out loud that she had not explicitly asked for in constant. I mean, granted, they were all very positive
Oh yeah,
thoughts,
no.
but I look up halfway through and I was like, you didn't ask for my feedback. And she was like, no, this is great. She was like, I haven't really had a lot of therapists look at this. This is awesome. It is my favorite therapy tool,
Mm.
hands down. All of my clients have it. But it's amazing whether you have ADHD or not. There's also a
Hmm.
clean version if you don't like cursing, but I like cursing. So do my teenage clients. Um, if you struggle to get things done and you're like, how do I get things done? Uh, Sometimes we have all these like ideas of like, okay, we have to have this structure, we have to have this structure, we have to have this structure, and that's what you do every single time. Doesn't
Hmm.
always work because we're not always stuck for the same reason. So I love how this has like stuck, overwhelmed, unmotivated, disorganized, and discouraged. And then you flip to the page, you get cute little buddies to understand what kind of overwhelmed you are. And then it gives
Uh-huh.
you like three options instead of like 16 options of things that you could possibly do. And it's very exciting. And I will
Hmm.
say, my little sister, who got diagnosed with ADHD within the last year or so, saw this, immediately flipped it over my own page, saw this little overcommitted buddy, and just burst into tears because of
Yep.
how seen she felt. So
Hmm.
I love it. I have very strong feelings about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely got on the pre-order list when that started coming out because I was like, "Oh, another ADHD tool." I was an adult diagnosed with
Hmm.
ADHD in my early 30s. So it was just like, "Oh, oh, hello." And so yeah, it was definitely any tools like that I love picking up, and especially where Danny has so many comics and TikToks and such online. Again,
Hmm.
you can always kind of tell the difference between folks who write about ADHD because they want to and people who write about ADHD because they have it. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
and again, not both of
Absolutely.
them have good places and they can be really good
Mhm.
tools, but not gonna lie, some of the I find the best content is by our fellow ADHDers, and you're just like, this is so helpful. I feel so seen.
Absolutely, because I think that's a space in which,
Hmm.
I, was diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid, but
Hmm.
a lot of the focus there was really on, like, academics, like, "Are you doing okay in school?" And I, did pretty well in school,
Hmm.
especially when school was challenging enough. And so the places where I really struggled were actually more socially. And that was something that wasn't talked about as much when I was a kid and I had
Yeah.
ADHD. And that wasn't something that I really learned a lot about until graduate school. And
Yeah.
there's, I think, a lot of even when I was doing okay in academics, or if I wasn't, if I like my academics slipped, there was this idea of like, well, you're capable of this. So you just must not be trying hard enough, or you just must not care enough. And that is
Mhm.
something that, like, to this day, if someone says, like, oh, that must just not be important to you, like, the amount of like deep, like, fear and like shame I feel inside,
Yep.
even if the thing literally just isn't that important,
Yep.
is something like very visceral. And so having these kind of tools that also, I think Danny does a great job of saying, like, you're gonna forget that this thing exists. Just like put it somewhere where you'll remember. Or like, your
Mhm.
goal isn't to read over this every day. Your goal is to
Mhm.
come in and see what works. Something I talk about with my clients all the time is like, we're not trying to identify a strategy that's gonna work for the rest of your life, right? We're not developing an exercise routine that you do until you die. Like, we're working on a
Yep.
strategy that your brain's gonna find interesting for the next 2 weeks to maybe a month, right? And then we'll
Mhm.
figure out how to shift it. But there's this idea that, like, I just have to find that one thing and then it'll work for me forever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I also work with a Dusty Chipura. She's
Mhm,
my
yeah,
I have her as an ADHD coach, and she's
Dusty's
amazing as
amazing.
well. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Dusty so much. I'm doing a ADHD boot camp with her this weekend, so that's going to be great.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, it's the same sort of thing she talks about. It's we're not looking for a system forever. We're looking for a system for now, and we're going to find what works. We're going to go over previous systems and we're going to like see what worked, why did it stop working, and we might rework that system. We may find a new system. We may find a series of systems that you kind of just rotate between. And it's just
Absolutely.
about what works for you now, and that's the important thing. And she definitely stresses, and I brought this up yesterday about, not diving into shame and like looking at things that went wrong, and rather than seeing failure, seeing the potential, being like, okay, let's get curious, let's be detectives. Why did this go wrong? Let's figure this out, let's get curious.
I love
And
that.
it's
Yeah, I
yeah.
talk with people a lot about, like, we're going to be a scientist, right? Like, your job for this week is not to implement this system
Mhm.
perfectly, and if you don't, you've failed. Your job for this week is to try out the system
Yep.
and find the things that worked and find the things that didn't.
Absolutely.
And if you come back and you're like, I didn't implement any of it, it's like, cool, clearly something didn't work. So like,
Yep.
what were those roadblocks? Absolutely.
Exactly that. There's no shame in failure. It's an opportunity to get curious. And
Hmm.
I don't know, something about that entire concept is just so motivating and stuff. Because like you, I found a bunch of my old childhood report cards a bunch of years ago, and I was just going through them, and it's like, good student doesn't try hard enough, lazy, good student but doesn't try. I was like, oh,
Good student, but talks
oh,
a lot.
mhm,
Really should talk
mhm.
way less.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
I was lucky in that I wasn't diagnosed as a child because academically I did very well, but I
Mhm.
also was bored. I was bored. The trouble we had was stuff like homework and things,
Yeah.
teachers had to sign agendas, parents had to sign agendas, about the homework, and I just got better at lying, not better at doing homework. So like uh it was just one of those things, but because my grades never suffered, they didn't
Mhm.
go further than that. They were just like, "Okay, this person just hates homework."
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting space. I'm
Mhm.
definitely still in the space now where I'm, like, trying to figure out how to keep my life organized when I'm not super busy. Because I
Yeah.
realized one of my most effective coping strategies was be so, so, so busy that I had to be doing something all the time so I could get the motivation up. And that worked
Mhm.
okay when I was on a school schedule because I could work
Yeah.
really hard for 8 or 16 weeks and then I could recover and then I could work really hard. And then I
Yeah.
went to graduate school. So I was in school for so many years and
Mhm.
that worked pretty well. And then I graduated and I went, oh,
Where are my systems?
I don't I can't just
Yep.
work at the same kind of breakneck speed that I did for 8 or 16 weeks because, like, there's not that's not how this works anymore. So just kind of figuring out
Nope.
those pieces. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. I feel that. And that's a problem I even have with like this event we're running. I see a task, it needs to get done. I'm like, ooh, gimme.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then, by
yeah.
like right before the event, they're like, Natara, how many of these things can we take away? Because you're gonna die. And I'm like, yes, that is
But that's
correct.
the hardest part. How do you
Mm-hmm.
tell someone? Because it takes more, it's often like more effort to help someone understand the help that you need. I used to be a
Yeah.
lifeguard, and they would tell us in lifeguard training that like when someone is actively drowning, you are supposed to swim up behind them and basically just like
Mm-hmm.
catch them under the arms and pull backwards. Because if you swim straight up to them, they will drown you. Not because they
Yeah, yeah.
want to, but because
Oh
they
no,
are
it's
just
the
trying to do
reaction.
anything
Yeah.
to keep them alive. And I am someone who definitely struggles to ask for help before I'm actively drowning. And so then I get in that space where I'm like, oh, I don't have the bandwidth to sit down and give you a list
Mm-hmm.
of the tasks that I need, and also give you a list of the tasks that I need 2 weeks before I need the task done, because that's,
Yep.
or 3 days before I need the task done, because that's reasonable. And my spouse is autistic and like is happy to
Uh-huh.
help, but
Yeah.
also does not want to be told 5 minutes before I need the
Oh
dog to be
no.
taken on a walk or dinner to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
You need
hey, just kidding.
notice.
Can you do this task? So yeah, figuring out those pieces. And I think
Absolutely.
ADHD brains are so good at problem solving, but when we get
Yep.
stuck in shame and guilt, we're not good at problem solving because we're just sad little guilt buddies.
Yep.
And so if we can, the more that we can remove that kind of like shame, the more we get
Mm-hmm.
to shift forward and move into problem solving. And this is another reason why I really love using games to help support like growth
Yes.
and support frustration tolerance and
Mm-hmm.
support like reframing failure, because there are so many games like Elden Ring is a great example. The Souls
Mm-hmm.
games are good examples
Uh-huh.
of like you're gonna fail,
Oh yes.
you're gonna fail a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna repeatedly fail. Hades is actually one of my favorites. Hades was the first roguelite I ever
Okay.
finished. I've started some others and I was like, nope, and bounced off of them.
I still haven't finished Hades, but I have got played it a bunch.
So I watched my spouse kind of on and off play through
Mm-hmm.
Hades. I am a
Yeah.
sucker for retold fairy tales, retold
Oh yeah.
mythology, anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. The music was amazing. I'm trying to learn to play one of the songs in ukulele right now, which was not a good plan. And the art is incredible and the storytelling is really well done.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I'm not gonna play a roguelike. Like that's too hard for me. I'm not gonna do it. And
Yeah.
then we get to the end and I was like, I think I have to play this game. I think I have to.
I
And
don't
it
think
took
I
me
have
a
a
very
choice.
long
Yeah.
time. And I
Uh-huh.
had to like set it down and walk away from it and come back. But the game does such a great job of helping you see the progress that you're making, even if you only make it through 3 rooms and then you get sent back. Because
Yeah,
every time you
absolutely.
get sent back,
Mm-hmm.
that helps move the story forward.
Yeah.
You are constantly being told that, like, yeah, of course you're gonna like die and come back and have to start over, but like that's normal. Like, of course you're gonna do that. And then you get to come
Mm-hmm.
back and you get to trade in some stuff. And so the game does this really nice job of kind of reframing what like failure, or in this case like death, kind of looks like, and how you navigate that space and how you can still grow and change and move forward, and you get the option to make things harder or easier, so you get to kind of choose your challenge and
Uh-huh.
feel like you have some autonomy over the level of difficulty, which is something that's incredibly important when we're thinking about instilling that
Yep.
ability to grow and change.
Absolutely. And Dharma Scholar brings up a very good point. You also get to pet the puppy,
Yeah, yeah,
which
Speaking
is
that's
of
a
definitely one of
puppies,
really
them. Yeah, I was gonna say,
in
speaking
Hades,
of
yeah.
puppies, what you got
speaking
for
of
us there?
puppies, sorry to interject, but I figured this might be very important. We have a $50 donation from
Oh my
Trask that
goodness,
just says,
excellent.
"Oh hey, cute puppy."
Oh,
So
thanks,
we have
Trask.
met that
Awesome.
incentive. We are going to see Puppy Cam later today for another
Yes.
$50 total cumulative. We'll get to see that puppy in a dino costume. So get those
Yep.
donations in and let's see that pup in a dino
I
costume at
will
the end of this
I will
interview.
do that counts as $5. So here's my pretty kitty. This is
Oh, so
Penny.
cute.
Yeah, she has shoved her face in a blanket. I literally cannot see her face. Even from my
Excellent.
angle, it is in the blanket. And I love this for us. So yes,
That's very
for
cute.
$5 individual donations, I'll show you her again. I cannot promise movement. I cannot promise she will have moved because cats. But yeah. So get those donations in. I don't know about y'all. I definitely want to see the puppy, but I want to see puppy in a dino costume. So $50 more, we can do it. But yeah, speaking of kind of the roguelites, this game isn't a roguelite, but it's similar in concept, Celeste. I don't know if you've played that
Hmm.
one. Yeah,
Oh, I love Celeste. Yeah.
it's so good. And again, it's kind of the game which kind of got me into that sort of thing as well. Because, I'd see people, all these speed runners playing it, and I'm like, I can't play this game. This game's too hard. But it just looks so good. I was like, well, let's just try it. And let me tell you, friends, the amount of deaths I have in this game
It's
is
so hard.
in 4 characters. At 4 digits, absolutely, maybe higher. But like, because every room you die in, you just go to the beginning of that room. It's infinite. There's no
Hmm.
continued,
Yep.
there's no like you just keep trying. And it has so many accessibility options that if something it just is too hard, just turn on invincibility for that screen, go on past or just slow it down a bit and then pick up again afterwards. And
I love that it has so many options, right? It's
I
not
know.
just like,
Yeah.
oh, this will make it easier. It's like, okay, do you want to have like unlimited jumps, or do you want to not die if you hit a spiky thing that explodes you? Or,
Exactly.
and so that kind of space allows you to titrate how challenging something is. And so
Yep.
you get this combination of low consequences for failure. So when we're looking for
Yep.
growth mindset, some of the key things are low consequences for failure,
Mhm.
messaging that failure or growth through failure is normative, having opportunities to kind of set the difficulty level that is like just above where you're at right now, but not too far
Yeah.
away. And
Mhm.
Celeste hits all of those. So it has, you
Absolutely.
get postcards that say, like, be proud of your death count. That means you're learning something. You get the
Yeah.
option to titrate those, and you have that just that like small jump backwards. It kills me when the rooms are like 2 panels long and you're like, no.
I in the main game, like the first 5 chapters, I finished that. I only needed to go invincible for 2 rooms, but one of the rooms was one of those long panel
One of
rooms, the one with
the long
Madeline,
panels.
like near the end. I think on the summit where it's just like 3 straight like panels worth of room, and I was just like, yeah, no. No, I tried it over and over and over. I was like, you know what? It's okay. We're gonna just skip past this room and continue. And that's what I did. And I finished the main game of Celeste and I didn't wasn't even going to play it because I didn't even think I could get through like the first level. So
Mhm.
it's I love games like that with options and like you say, still have some challenge to them. You don't make them just like, okay, I'm just gonna watch it. But yeah, it's
Yeah, it's that space in
yeah.
which like getting to choose, right? There's not, and it's not every day that I
Hmm.
want to play Celeste or that I want to pick up Hades
Oh,
or
for
anything like
sure.
that. And getting to feel like I'm able to move forward is something that's really important. One of the
Hmm.
things that for games like Hades and Celeste and Souls games, like I definitely have to. There are times where I'm like, I am getting too frustrated, I'm getting too overwhelmed, like I have to take a break, and that break might
Yep.
be 5 minutes or it might be 5 months,
Yep.
and giving myself that permission to do that, as opposed to having that internal narrative that I've stopped playing and therefore I've given up on it and therefore I'm not allowed to have hobbies anymore because I keep giving up on them. The more
Yep.
we can push back against that is really valuable, and it makes it more,
Absolutely.
I'm more willing to re-engage with something when I don't then have that kind of shame around it.
That pressure, yeah, something I did as an example of this. Um, I was reading the Wheel of Time series. For those who are
Hmm.
not familiar, it is a 14 book fantasy series. The books are like this thick each. Like it this is a slog on a good day. And I literally took a decade break but on book 7. I started book 7, got halfway through, just got exhausted, put it down, and then 10 years later, picked it up again. And I was like, I'm not starting from the beginning. I'm picking back right up. I'll start at the beginning of book 7. I'll look up whatever I need to know what I do. Let's keep going. And I finished that series. So again, it's that take the break, take a whole decade off. You can
That's
just go back
awesome.
later.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kate Osborne, Katiesaurus on socials,
Yeah.
had this video a couple of years ago that was great that just talked about like, it is okay if your hobby is collecting hobbies. And I think
Yeah.
reframing that
Yeah.
space of like, oh, yeah, one of the things that I do is I like to go and I like to learn about a bunch about something and then I like to never touch it ever again.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it also can take you a while to figure out like whether or not you enjoy something. And
Yeah.
so kind of having reframing that space, and thinking about like, okay, well, what's my budget? And like, what's my budget for hobbies, right? And that doesn't have
Mhm.
to be all in the same hobby. And so kind of just like figuring that out, same kind of things with games. And I'm
Yeah.
very lucky that
Mhm.
my spouse is also a gamer, and so
Nice.
I will often just follow behind him and like pick up games that he has played or I've gotten to see a little bit of. And then I
Yeah.
don't even have to feel bad about whether or not I spend money on them because
Mhm.
he already bought it. So if I only play for 5 minutes,
The only buy-in
it's
is
fine.
time, and there's like you say, when that's the only buy-in, there's really no failure. Either you tried it and just went, meh, it's not for me, or you're just like, oh no, I really did like this. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good feel. Yeah, collecting hobbies. Yeah, chat's definitely feeling called out on that. I definitely do that. I have some hobbies which I refer to as circular hobbies because I just, I'm in this hobby and then I'm gonna go to a different one. Then I'm gonna a
Hmm.
different one, and I know eventually I'm gonna come back to one of those. So I have some which are circular, but I also have some that, like you say, you're just collecting hobbies. You've tried it. I know
Yeah.
I can do it now. I'm good.
Uh-huh. Well, it's like when you know you can do it, I feel like it goes from that, like, this is a challenge, this is a problem that I'm figuring out, to like now
Hmm.
this is a mundane and repetitive task. And
Uh-huh.
my brain does not enjoy mundane and repetitive tasks. But I will
Not
sometimes talk
even.
about hobbies like seasonal. So similar
Yep.
to the way that like, you uh, at least where I live, I can't go skiing in the middle of the summer unless I'm willing to drive a very long way. So
Yeah.
like I'm not going to go skiing in the summer, but I'll go in the winter, and
Mhm.
I might be more. And it doesn't even have to be like the like seasons of the world. Like just there are going to be times in which I need things that are more like away from the screen, right? I picked up the
Mhm.
ukulele, um, not thinking I would get into it at all, and have got like a $50 uh, pink acrylic ukulele
We might have the
that
same
my
one. I bought like
oh
a
yeah,
$20 pink
oh
acrylic
my
one
gosh,
off
it's
Amazon.
great. I got it, and my spouse, who's very good at talking me into spending money on hobbies, was like, if
Oh,
you hate
mine's
it,
not that
you
one.
can just
Yeah.
hang it on your wall.
Yep.
And I think like not having that, he's like, it costs less than like a really nice date night. And not having that
Yeah.
pressure means that I have spent so many more hours on it than I would have
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, this is the one I have. So yeah, I haven't played Touch Mine in multiple years now, but while I was doing it, I stuck to it longer than I did a lot of things, and I quite was enjoying it. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say as somebody who I played piano and then I played flute and then I was in choir for a lot of years. I tried to learn the guitar and start with the ukulele. It's so
Yeah.
much easier.
There's two less strings. And for me,
So
especially, I have little hands, so I find
yeah,
I know you can get smaller guitars, but I don't want to invest that money if I don't know I'm like getting into it. I haven't played in years. Chad is suggesting $100 for a duet. I'll sing.
I
Mine's
would
not even in
have to
tune.
tune it. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a lot
literally.
that goes into that.
When you
Maybe
haven't
next
played
time.
in a month, it needs to be tuned. When you haven't played in 3 years and failed to tune it that long ago, no,
You
no,
might need new
nobody
strings.
wants that. No.
We'll see how it
Listen,
goes.
if someone wants to donate the $100, well, I'll strum it, and you guys will regret, and you folks will regret everything. But I'll do
Right
it for a
above
hundred
people's
dollars.
ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy. I can strum. The strings exist.
Yeah.
So
You'll be fine.
yeah. So so you did mention like Hades and such, and the Souls
Hmm.
games. Are there other sorts of video games that like you enjoy just playing for hobbies?
Yeah. So I have not gotten into Baldur's Gate 3. I've like started it and then been like,
Uh
oh, I
huh.
have to finish some writing projects before I'm allowed to touch this game again. Um,
Yeah.
I have actually like really been on a Magic the Gathering kick lately. So I am
Nice.
the most casual of casual players.
I'm trying to learn,
But
so I feel
my
you.
spouse has the goblin sickness and has been purchasing a lot of the pre-made commander decks, and they play really well together. And so that has been something that it's been nice to like just get away from screens because both of us work from home and are on our screens all day and get to do that,
Yep.
which has been super fun. I've
Yeah.
also just done another playthrough of Stardew Valley because I am getting to edit the Zeitgeist of Stardew Valley book that currently has an open call for papers. So if you were somebody who
Ooh.
is really into Stardew Valley and you have a lot to say around like psychology related topics in Stardew Valley. So we're talking about things like community and nostalgia and mental health and hobbies and engagement and social stuff and communication. That is something that if you're interested in that, that's a great thing to know
Yeah.
about. I'm super
And
excited. I got to write for the Witcher version that Dr. Coward did. So
yes, she talked about that when we were talking about it and showed it off. It was super exciting. I did just link in chat a link to that actual call,
oh, thank
the
you.
proposal, because I had those links from yesterday.
Awesome.
So I have them up to look at them for myself. But yeah, so we link that if you folks are interested. We definitely have folks in chat who are very passionate about Stardew Valley. Um, it is definitely a well-loved game in the community. It's
Yeah, it's very fun. I will actually want to comment. So Trask had said, I love how your spouse is your gateway into all these things. My spouse is my gateway into a lot of things, actually. So I grew up in a household that was pretty pro game, but they were mostly like my dad's or my brother's games. So I played a lot of Battlezone. I played a ton of Age of Mythology. I played a lot of Civ 3. We
mhm.
did Mist and Ribbon like as a family. There
Oh,
were like we
nice.
had notebooks full of stuff for the puzzles. Really, really enjoyed those pieces. And then around middle school, my little brother and I stopped getting along as well because we are 2 years apart and we're in middle school.
Yep.
And I kind of lost access to games. There wasn't ever
Yeah.
explicit messaging in my family that like games are for video games are for boys and not for girls. Like there's none of that, but it was a space in which um my brother was the one who was given games. He's the one who got
Yeah.
like the first console we had was an Xbox and it was his. And so there was my kind of like access to games was kind of through him or through my dad. And
Yeah.
I continued to be pretty involved in like fantasy and stuff continuing growing up, but it wasn't really
Yeah.
until like college I would have friends where we'd like sit down and like watch people play through Mass Effect or Amnesia, which was a very interesting one. And then in grad school, I met my now spouse in statistics class because we're huge nerds and would like go over to his apartment and he was playing Destiny and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like pretty cool. And he's like, you don't think this is dumb? And I was like, why would I think that it's dumb? He's like, you don't think that I'm wasting my time on this hobby? I was like, you're in grad school. Like, why would I? Also, like, no, that's weird. And he was
Yeah.
like, do you want to play games? And I was like, well, I haven't in like a while, but
Yeah.
sure. And he was so excited and so lovingly, without pressuring me, like walked me through. So we like played Child of Light. We played, I've like started getting into Destiny just a little bit. We actually now own two PlayStations and two TVs, which started when we were still in grad
Mhm.
school because I found out that you could play through the story missions of Destiny 2 co-op and we
Yeah.
went out that night and bought another PlayStation so we could play through co-op because I was like, I
Amazing.
like playing, but I want to get to play
Yeah.
with you.
Yes.
And so getting to get back in that space of like really getting to fall back in
Uh-huh.
to like video games in a way where I had so much support. I also had this kind of curated community through him, which meant playing multiplayer online as a femme presenting person felt a little bit less scary. It was really exciting, and part of me is like frustrated at the years that I lost in terms of like games that I think I would have really enjoyed, and I've gone back and played some
Mhm.
of them. But it's been so nice to get to kind of like re connect and engage in this community in a way that like I just didn't have that kind of foothold when I was an adolescent, and so when I lost access to games because my brother and I didn't get along super well, I had other things to focus on.
Yeah.
But it's been really awesome to get to kind of like come back and be back in that space. And it's also really nice to have someone who has a smaller range of hobbies. And
Yeah.
so he plays more games than I do because gaming takes up a bigger portion of his hobby space. Whereas I have like
Mhm.
the dog and running and ukulele and rock climbing and cooking. I have a lot of hobbies that
Uh-huh.
take up a lot of time. And so
Mhm.
then I can be like, oh, what are the new fun things that I want to do that you already have that I can just come in and take your toys.
Yeah.
So that's been
Oh,
really nice, and it's been really special because
yeah.
I think there are times when she has to leave the room when I'm playing because he does not appreciate my just throw your virtual body against the wall until something sticks approach at times.
It's a good
But
strategy, though.
it's sometimes it works, you know, sometimes it gets you through that room.
Yeah.
You're never going to do it again, but sometimes it gets you through that space.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Chat is wondering, they say, please tell me there was a statistic-based pickup line used when you all started dating.
So there was not, but I will say when we met in statistics class, and then we met at a house party he was throwing, and it was my first week of graduate school, and he was a fifth year,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't like you because I just started graduate school, like, and I'm not gonna date someone in a program. Don't be ridiculous. That would be silly. And also like, no,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not. So I see him and I'm like, oh, nope, can't like you. Apparently he's having the same kind of internal experience. Like this person just started grad school. I'm about to like potentially leave. So we're in
Yeah.
his apartment, this house party. And my brain's brilliant solution to this was to challenge him to show me something in his apartment that I would hate. And his
Okay.
brain was like, this is great because I don't want to like her. Perfect. She's going to be just totally hate all of my nerdy stuff. So
Yeah.
he's like, here are my posters of Pokemon that are like drawn out like the like botanical or like anatomical drawings. And I was like, that is not helpful. That's pretty cool,
I
actually.
like
And
that.
he's
Try
like,
again.
yeah, he's like, well, here's all my like fantasy books. And I was like, nope, that's not super helpful either. This is not going the way that I wanted it to go. And he's like, here's my stuff on superheroes. And I was like, this is not
I have to
okay. Come
leave.
on. Like,
Excuse me.
where's your like sports ball stuff? Right? Like,
Right? You show me sports ball, mission accomplished. We're done.
nope. Yeah, no, he's like, I got a bunch of D&D stuff. And I was like, I've actually never played D&D, but it seems kind of neat. And I'm like, this is not going well. So we
Yeah.
get through his whole apartment. He is not successful. He's like trying to be like, this is nerdier. What about these video games? And I'm like, oh, it's Space Cowboys video game? That seems really cool. So there was not a statistics related pickup line, but there was an effort on both sides to try and not like the other one
Yeah.
by showing how nerdy we were, and it didn't work.
Honestly, I don't know about you, chat, but I think this story was better than a statistics pickup line. That is amazing. So let's just take a quick minute to make some space for Lady Ariana and shout out any sort of any incentives, any donations we've gotten. The floor is yours.
Well, unfortunately, we do not currently have any new donations, but I do want to remind everybody that cumulative and until the end of this interview, if we can raise that at $50, we will get to put that dog in a dino costume. And also, let's not forget that just because you are giving your donation for the dino costume doesn't mean you still can't put it towards targets and or towards our incentives and our bid wars as well. You can double dip into those as well. And currently we have two uh I am losing words today. I love when
You're
that
doing great.
happens. We have we have two incentives that we're looking at for Dragon Quest. We want to rescue the princess. We have nothing out of $200 on that right now. Fancy Star 4 Profound Distortion. We have $27.77 out of 250 for 100% clear. And our bid wars include what gets randomized in that randomizer, either abilities or classes, what party selection we have, as well as what mode of the game. So get your donations in. All of that during this interview will go towards seeing that dog in a dino costume. We just need $50 more for that. And
Mm.
for every $5, we still get Cat Cam. I'm assuming Cat's still around.
Cat has barely moved. She just twitched her ear as I said cat. But
I
other
can
than
go.
that, she's still there. Face is slightly less in the blanket now, but
I can go get
currently.
dogs since we've made it to 50, and then we can see how cute Badger is. So I do have a question. If I
Mhm.
turn my camera off, not leave the platform to turn my camera off, will it mess up the?
As long as you don't leave the platform, I'm gonna say
Okay,
no, and it'll fix when
I'm
you turn it
gonna
back on anyways.
turn it off and then back on so it can be back in a different
Yeah.
location, or I'll get
Yeah.
her.
It's gonna be great.
I will be right back with the dog.
Yeah, love this. Oh, I was really hoping we'd have a tech issue. I was waiting for it to break so Demarine would yell at me. But now, hey, I'm on the other side. Hi everybody, I've moved. That's okay. We'll swap over. I love this actually. No, don't worry about it, Demarine. Nobody tell Demarine. Hey everyone, you're stuck with me. And by stuck, I'm gonna give you a free cat cam, don't tell. She just yawned. Hi baby. See, you gave us 50, so we'll give you that. Look, she just slow blinked. No, nothing broke. And anything that broke on purpose. Don't worry, you're good. You're safe. This was approved breaking. Kitten, don't leave. Kitten, no. Kitten, stop. Kitten, you can't leave.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, my cat is
I'm back.
probably leaving. Oh no, are you coming here? Oh my god, look at your puppy. That's Badger.
This is
Hey, do you want
Badger.
to come over here?
So she has this very fun dino costume
Oh my god, that dino
that she
costume
can
is
be,
amazing.
that she can decide that she can put on. But currently she's very sleepy
Kitten.
because I picked her up and I carried her in off the couch.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought something fun was happening, and now we're just sleeping again. Yeah, that's
This is
Badger.
so blessed, y'all. My cat
It's
is
very fun.
stepping on me currently. She rarely
What?
does this.
I think that means you get a wish. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
my wish is for my cat to stay on my lap.
That's a good wish.
Yeah, you know? She didn't stay, but that's okay. She's around. What do you mean too jank? Rude? Yeah, the jank crop didn't break. Yeah. How did my I love this. I love how we swapped sides on the crop and we're still here. This is amazing. But yes, this is the perfect puppy. My kitten is very Hi baby. Can we help you? Do you want to say anything to the class? Yes, thank you. That was wonderful.
Her favorite thing to do, where we still live, I worked from my bedroom, and she would sleep behind me on the bed. So she'd be like right at the level with my mic.
Mhm.
And during therapy sessions, she would really like to make these really loud, dramatic sighs.
Mhm.
Right when someone was saying something like really vulnerable, uh, she would just
Mhm.
make these huffing, loud, dramatic sighs. It was
Amazing.
really great. Yeah, excellent.
Oh my god, pets are the best.
Hmm.
And I love, oh, look at Badger. She's just so sleepy. Also, my kitten
She's
is
very
still
sleepy.
here. She's just no longer trying to crawl on me, which is fine. So yeah, y'all, for another $50, we will see this precious pumpkin in a dino costume. And we have less than 10 minutes left of this interview, so you're running out of time. Mm-hmm. Does Badger have a favorite video game or a favorite game to play?
So Badger is currently in a nose work class. So she's learning how to like sniff out specific scents. But after that, I think we're gonna put her in it's called, I think, Tribal. Basically,
Okay.
imagine if instead of herding sheep, you were herding yoga balls. So she is in no way, shape, or form a herding breed. She's a from
Oh
a rescue
yeah.
breed. We think she's probably a Staffordshire Terrier, like a bully breed.
Mm-hmm.
But she really likes booping things with her nose. It's one of her
Yes.
key skills. She's
Uh-huh.
good at booping things with her nose, and she's good at putting her chin on things. She's not good at retrieving, so she's not good at like picking stuff up and
Fair.
bringing it back to you. It also means she won't take toys from children. So that's a
Added
positive.
bonus.
Hmm. But in Tribal, you basically teach a dog to boop a yoga ball with its nose or shoulder
Uh-huh.
into a soccer goal.
That is one of the most amazing and precious things I've heard in my life. I
Yeah.
cannot even how
So
amazing that is. I hope she loves it.
we did like try out a bunch of different dog sports,
Yeah.
and she mostly was just excited that she was in like a training space and there were
Yeah, of
snacks and she was
course.
learning things. So I think she
Uh,
would be happy to do any of them.
I'm always
But she
happy when there's
didn't.
snacks.
Yeah, she did like pretty good for a dog that does not have a hurting bone in her body. So
That's so precious. And like, I love pit bulls anyways. They're amazing, beautiful, loving dogs. Oh, and you can look at her. So sleepy. Oh, amazing. We love this. And how old's Badger?
She is 4 on Sunday.
Oh, well,
So
happy early birthday.
yeah.
Oh, hold a sec. I got to cut this over to Ari. 'Cause I
Oh,
think,
oh, oh, I
yep,
do see something. I'm glad you actually said something. I was looking away for a second because I have my own cats to deal with. But
I got you.
anyways, we have another $50 donation from Trask. Left completely
What?
blank, but you know what that
Trash.
means.
All right. Hey, Badger, do you mean to put on your dino costume?
And
Like,
It's
I'm
Dino
very
costume
sleepy.
I
time.
love this. Also, kitten cam is now over. My kitten has abandoned me cruelly. I'll never be the same
Oh
again.
no. Bye,
That's okay. She'll love
kitten.
me later.
All right. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get this like fully over her
Oh,
legs, but we will
oh
get
my
it over her
gosh.
head and her
Just
ears, and I
over
will get
her
her to look
ears. Oh,
at
look at
the camera. Badger, do you want some more snacks? She's like, I'm so sleepy. I could not get her to take a nap earlier, and now she's doing the
Oh,
whole
and
I'm a exhausted toddler thing.
I've
Like,
never
do you need
slept a
this?
day in my life, but
She's
I'll
like,
pretend
I'm the
for.
most tired now.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
never tired before.
But
There
I'll
you
still eat
are.
my treats. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, I just get
gosh,
you
look at
just
her.
tucked in to your little dino costume. This cat, this cat is her
Oh,
in her costume.
this is so pure. Trask, thank you so much for your generous donations for this pupper cam. I think this is healing for all of us.
I just appreciate. I've never had a dog that tolerated wearing clothes. Very
Got it.
reasonable. I don't know that I like wearing
Yeah,
clothes as a dog.
fair.
She doesn't care. Like I wouldn't put her in costumes if it bothered her, but you can see how
Yep.
distressed she is
Oh, exactly. Well, it's like,
currently.
each animal's, they all have their own personalities and some like it, some don't care. And I love this for
Mhm.
her. Listen,
Yeah,
she's getting
she's a
treats
pretty
out of
big
the
fan.
deal, which sounds like the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a photo of her like fully in and sitting up in the costume. So that will make its way to Twitter after
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I'll
Well,
tune out to
definitely.
her
Speaking of Twitter, where
in
can
her
we
full
find you
glory.
on Twitter?
Yeah, so I am Dr. Kilmer or Dr. Kilmer on Twitter. Doctor is spelled out. I'm also on Blue Sky, I think, and LinkedIn. Like that's
Yeah.
on's a really strong word. Like I show up sometimes.
With
Uh,
dog pictures, best time.
I
So
show up
is that
sometimes with dog pictures.
hmm
Yeah. So
Dr. Kilmer, all one word, doctor
Dr.
spelled
Kilmer, all
out?
one word. Yes.
Just shared that in
Yep.
chat for anyone who wants to
Absolutely.
follow you
Anybody
on
wants to
those
see the
systems.
to see the dog pictures.
I mean, who
I
does?
will tag RPG Valkyries to make sure
Yes.
you can all see
Yes, we are on all of those things
Badger.
as well. So maybe not LinkedIn, but we
That's that's
is there
fair.
is there even a section on LinkedIn to put animal pictures? Because I feel like that would definitely want me to apply to a place more if they had like pet pictures.
So one of the lawyers at Bungie, I think 95% of his feed is pictures of his dogs. And
Amazing.
I'm pretty sure he posts, I think it's almost daily, if not daily.
Oh,
So I would say it's a smaller subset of people.
mm-hmm.
But I, he's religious enough about it that I see dog pictures on my feed all the time.
You know what? I love that.
So
If you're gonna be on LinkedIn, might as well find the dog pictures.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's
I will also say
amazing.
you can add like custom emojis to like Slack. So Badger's also in the Take This Slack as
Heck
just her
yes.
face as an emoji.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. We love that. Well, we're getting near the end here of our interview. Are there any last things you want to mention or talk about before we finish up today?
that is a great question. I think we talked about all the kind of like key
Mm,
pieces I was hoping we touch on. I want to say like a big thank you to everybody who has been here, who has showed up in the chat, who has just lurked and watched the stream, especially everybody who's donated. Thank you so much, Trask. Thank you so much to RPG Valkyries for supporting Take This. I was a big fan of Take This before joining the team this January, and
mm-hmm.
being on the inside has just really made me even more excited about the mission and the work that we're doing. I have so much confidence in our like team and our ability to continue to move forward and do good work in like an ethical way that continues to support our employees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I am really, really grateful for anybody who kind of helps us continue to do that work.
Amazing. And we love supporting Take This. We kind of found you folks and we were looking for a charity and have never had any interest in looking elsewhere. We absolutely love the work you do and definitely are also excited to see everything coming in the future.
Yeah, we have some
Perfect.
really exciting stuff coming down the pipeline.
Oh,
So definitely,
so
definitely keep an eye out.
so excited. Well, thank you so much for being here with us and for also introducing us to the amazing Badger. Um, we're going to end here now. Everyone, stay tuned. We still have lots more coming up. Um, I'm going to let the coming up screen tell you what's coming up next because that's just how today's working. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.